And welcome back to centralcoastradio.com. Well, if you love the Australian film The Castle and the great story it tells about one man versus the big bureaucrats, you are going to absolutely love a brand new film that is out called Bank of Dave. Now, this is actually based on a true story about a man called Dave Fishwick, who's played by Rory Kinnear in this film. Now, this is a strange story because basically Dave Fishwick was a businessman in Burnley in England, a town that was once a bustling city, but now a lot of the people struggle. Dave realized how much people were struggling, and being a man with a little bit of money, decided to start helping people out. So he would loan money to somebody if they had a funeral coming up, kind of thing, and then they would pay him back. Now, one of the things he started to realize was that when he gave money to small businesses, those small businesses started to flourish, and soon that business would start employing other people from within Burnley. The people would then give him back the money that he had lent them with interest. He would donate that interest to local charities to help them out. And he suddenly realized that he had the great business model for a bank. But when he explored it, he found that nobody had been given a license to set up a bank in England for 150 years. Now, he decided to hire some lawyers to try and find out why that was and to help him set up a bank that he wanted to call the Bank of Dave. So he reached out to a law firm that's run by Clarence, played by Angus Wright, and Clarence, unsure what to do, puts him on to one of his younger lawyers, Hugh, played by Joel Fry. Now, Hugh starts to investigate and comes to the same conclusion as Dave. No banks have been set up in 150 years, not because nobody could do it, but because the organization that approves new banks has become a boys' club, and they don't want new people coming in, and especially don't want new people coming in that can show communities that banks can be run a better way than the profit-hungry banks that we see here in Australia. So Dave and Hugh decide to push this agenda and see what they can do. Hugh finds out what it takes to pitch a bank to this group of men, and soon they start working on their business model for a bank. Now, at the same time, a former member of this bank boys club, Sir Charles, played by Hugh Bonneville, finds out what is happening, and he starts to devise a plan to not only crush the plans for this community bank, but to bring down Dave Fishwick in any way that he can. Now, like I said, this is very much a film in the basis of a film like The Castle. It is a man versus big business and corruption, but it is a movie with absolute heart. Rory Kinnear plays the character of Dave so well, and so does Joel Fry, who plays Hugh. Now, at the same time, Hugh is kind of this city boy who has had big dreams, but now he's locked away in a law firm, and he's finding those dreams passing him by. He's also reinvigorated when he meets the town doctor in Burnley, Alexandra, played by Phoebe Dinevere. She has dreams of setting up a free clinic for people that can't afford private health insurance. And she supports the bank because Davis promised her that if he can set up the bank, her clinic will be one of the charities that he supports. Now, a friendship starts between Alexandra and Hugh, and that kind of reinvigorates Hugh's view on life as well. This film is not only a story of Dave and setting up the Bank of Dave, it's also a story of Hugh realizing his human side again. He's been a lawyer in London for so long that he's kind of forgotten what it's like working in a community, and soon he starts to see how this community of Burnley comes together and works, and especially meeting people like Alexandra, he realizes that he needs to make changes in his life as well. Now, the amazing thing about this film is it's based on a true story. When you're sitting down and watching this film, you can't criticize the director Chris Fogan or the writer Piers Ashworth for the way that they portray these bankers as evil people, because it's what really happened in real life. This organization that has all of its corruption revealed in this film went after Dave in an absolutely vicious way to make sure that this community bank couldn't happen. So people might sit down and watch this and think that those characters are a bit of a cliche, but those characters are based on real people, and the stuff that they do is what they really did do to Dave. So this is one of those movies where when you're watching it, there's a few laughs in there as well. And if you're a music fan, you're going to love this because the band Def Leppard plays a very, very big part in this film. I'm not going to spoil what happens, but yeah, Def Leppard play a very big part in The Bank of Dave, and the entire band are in the film and belt out a couple of numbers. So you look out for that if you're a music fan. But there's a little bit of comedy in here. It probably doesn't go into the whole comedy side that The Castle does. There's a few kind of one-liners in there and things like that. But this film takes a more serious look. I think this film probably exposes the banking industry in a way that we haven't seen very many films do over the years. And you aren't going to get very many documentaries out there having a go at banks, because if you're a filmmaker, guess where you've got to borrow your money from to make a film? A bank. So you're not going to be a filmmaker who wants to go out there and expose banks for all of their corrupt things, because you're going to be putting a nail in your own coffin when it comes to you making your next film. So the fact that this film does this and shows exactly what happened is a pretty brave thing to do. The producers of this film are very, very close to the real Dave Fishwick, so I suppose they realize that when they want to be able to make a film, they can turn to him for help. But yeah, it's definitely a very, very important film. It is lighthearted in parts, so it's a film that you can kind of go along to and have a bit of fun with, but at the same time, you're going to find yourself getting pretty angry at times throughout this film as well. The interesting thing for me is I love Hugh Bonneville as an actor, so seeing him play such a nasty character in this is interesting, but for me, the standouts in this film are Rory Kinnear, Joel Fry, and Phoebe Dynevor. They do an absolutely amazing job bringing this story to life. I had the pleasure of interviewing Dave Fishwick about this film, and he's such an amazing guy, and then being able to see Rory Kinnear play that part, he nails the role of Dave Fishwick so well. So this is a film that's got limited release, so make sure you check your local cinema guide to see if it is showing near you. But I found The Bank of Dave to be a really, really good film. I'm giving it 4.5 out of 5. Go along, check it out. It is an amazing, feel-good kind of film. You're on centralcoastradio.com.